Hello everybody, Tate Davis here with another album battle for you. This one's between two pretty big heavyweights from the British Invasion, both releasing albums late in the 70s. One kind of a comeback when they signed to a new record label after about a decade of slumping album sales and changing record labels and sort of an identity crisis. And the other released an album when one of their key members, who later passed away shortly after its release, was in personal turmoil and suffering with addiction. I'm talking about, from 1977, the Kinks' Sleepwalker. And then from 1978, The Who, Who Are You? Let's talk about the Kinks album first. So, released in 1977, this is when the Kinks were signed. The first album that they released after they signed with Arista Records, of course, the label founded by Clive Davis not too long beforehand. Before this, the Kinks had kind of gone through a theatrical period. Ray Davies was writing a whole bunch of concept albums and that were just very British sounding, and really, I don't think gained much of an interest in listenership here in the U.S. In the U.K., I think they fared a little bit better, but those were very challenging and albums that you don't put on as like background music. You had to really pay attention to those albums, and this was sort of the Kinks kind of shedding all of that, and Ray Davies focusing more on like more from like a more commercial, more accessible songwriting perspective, and kind of similar to what he did early on in the Kinks' career. And this album, I think, is a great return to form for them. Kicks off with, of course, I'm sorry, let me give you the lineup. So we have Ray Davies on lead vocals and rhythm guitar and some keyboards and everything like that, and does all the songwriting, most of the songwriting, I think. Mick Avery on drums, Dave Davies on lead guitar and backing vocals, John Dalton on bass. This was his last album with the band, and John Gosling on keyboards, I believe. It doesn't list the, you know what, let me actually look in the inner sleeve to see if they actually give the lineup. I'm sorry, guys. I normally like to have, yes. Ray Davies on vocals, guitar, and keyboards. Dave Davies on lead guitar, lead and backing vocals. John Gosling on keyboards and backing vocals. Andy Pyle bass on Mr. Big Man. And John Dalton on bass. Mick Avery on drums. It was recorded at Cox Studios in the autumn and winter of 1976. I believe it was produced by Ray Davies too. Yes, written, produced, and arranged by R.D. Davies, Raymond Douglas Davies. Bob Ludwig mastered it. So this was recorded at the recording studio, the Kinks recording studio, Conch Studio. So anyway, I'm sorry. Should have had that information ready for you before I went into the music. So let's talk about the music on here. So it opens up with this great piano piano-driven song called Life on the Road. Opens up very slow and then builds up into a really, really cool piano-driven hard rock tunes with some great vocals by Ray Davies, and very relatable song, a rock star on the road, not being able to sort of cope with stuff going on between tours, not really knowing how to, kind of go into society and everything like that. I think that's it hits home, especially in these times that we're living in right now. So Life on the Road, great song. And then the second track on side one, my favorite song on the album, Mr. Big Man, the song that Mr. Andy Pyle plays on. Mr. Big Man, great guitar riffs by Dave Davies on this one. Great drumming by Mick Avery. Ray Davies doing my favorite sort of motif that Ray Davies would do with his vocals, that you would kind of sound like this. I can't do it very well, but he had Ray Davies, maybe not the greatest singer of all time, but he just had that characteristic, distinctive voice and could really, was a good hard rock singer when he wanted to, but still had that British charm to his voice. Track 3, another great song with some great drumming by Mick Avery on it. Great funky tune. The title track, Sleepwalker, awesome. I'm a sleepwalker. Closing off the album, we got Brother, cool ballad. Really good vocals by Ray Davies on that. Side 2, one of the bigger hits from this album, Jukebox Music. I should also mention Sleepwalker was a top 40 hit for the band. Side 2, Jukebox Music, another minor hit from this album, and since it has gone on to be a more well-known song from this period of the Kinks, really, really great song. Jukebox music, only jukebox music, only jukebox music. Great harmony vocals from the Davies brothers on this. Sleepless Night, another cool mid-tempo hard rock tune. Stormy Sky, especially that ending. We're under a stormy sky. Great vocals by Ray on that. Another favorite of mine on this song, or on this album, Full Moon. Another piano driven song. Awesome tune. And then closing off with another fairly known song from the Kinks, from this period in the Kinks' career. Life goes on every day, so appreciate what you've had before it's taken away. Great song. Great catchy song. Funky drumming by Mr. Mick Avery. So overall, great song. Really cool cover too. With Mr. Davies here on the front. Really, really great return to form for the Kinks. As is this one. The Who Are You? So obviously, we have Roger Daltrey on lead vocals, Pete Townsend on guitar, piano, synthesizer, and vocals, John Entwistle on bass, horns, synthesizer, and lead vocals as well, and then Keith Moon on drums and percussion, Andy Fairweather-Low on backing vocals, Rod Argent on synthesizer on the song Had Enough, and then Ted Astley doing string arrangements. I believe that this was recorded at a whole bunch of different studios, produced by Glyn Johns and John Astley. When this was recorded, the Who were in turmoil. Keith Moon was going through having all sorts of addiction problems. Pete Townsend was having a drinking problem. Daltrey was having an issue with the string arrangements on that. I think he knocked out Ted Astley after an argument over the slushy string arrangements over Had Enough. Keith Moon was so effed up that he couldn't, that he was having a hard time laying down the drum tracks, so for the song Music Must Change, they had to take out the drums for that, aside from a few cymbal crashes, because he couldn't do it. I think Glyn Johns actually had to go in and actually conduct for Moon, because it was so bad. But eventually I think he got himself together and recorded a lot of the drum tracks. Despite that, I think Keith Moon's drumming on this is awesome. And then, of course, not too long after this was released, he would pass away from an overdose on an alcohol withdrawal medication in his apartment in London. Not to be taken away, as you can see on the chair there. Kind of ironic and mysterious. So anyway, let's get into the songs on this album. Opening up with New Song. Great hard rock song. Give me a new song, right? Awesome. Had Enough. In my opinion, one of Keith Moon's best drumming performances ever. With the 30-second notes that he's throwing around there. Awesome. It's a John Entwistle pen tune. Another John Entwistle pen tune, 905, a band I was in high school, covered that song. Really great song. Very underrated song. Again, very uncharacteristic drumming by Keith Moon. He's just kind of keeping time and throwing in some really nice fills. And also cool kind of bass synthesizer playing in the background that kind of opens up the tune. I think it was written for a failed... that song Had Enough, and then a couple songs on later albums were written by John Entwistle as part of this like rock opera that never really got off the ground. Sister Disco, another well-known song from the song. It was a staple for the Who's set list going into the early 80s with Kenny Jones. Awesome song. I like live versions better than the studio version. Music Must Change, closing out side 1. Great. Again, I like live versions a little bit more than the studio version, but a great song nonetheless. Side 2, Trick of the Light, another John Entwistle pen tune. Great vocals by Roger Daltrey. Roger Daltrey would actually sing the song on the subsequent tours. And then when the Who reunited in 1989 and starting from the tours going forward, John Entwistle would sing this song. Great joining by Keith Moon on this. Very poignant guitar riffs by Pete Townsend. Awesome. Guitar and pen, a very quirky Broadway kind of song. Works really well. Love Is Coming Down, probably my least favorite song on the album, but it's a cool ballad. And then closing off the album with the epic title track that we've all heard on the radio a billion times, but with some great drumming by Keith Moon, great vocals by Roger Daltrey, great harmonies, great synthesizer backing track program by Townsend. Overall, maybe not my favorite Who album in the world, but it gets the job done, and it's a great one. So when it comes to putting these two against each other, you know, this is really hard for me because I love both bands. I am a bigger Who fan than I am the Kinks because Keith Moon is my favorite drummer of all time, but Mick Avery is also in my top 10 of favorite drummers of all time. But when it comes down to it, the Who have the stronger discography than the Kinks. The Kinks have a couple pretty bad albums, actually multiple really bad albums. This is really hard for me to choose. Fuck it, I'm giving it to the Kinks. I'm sorry, I love the Who, I do, with everything in me. But when it comes to this album, this is just a little bit stronger. If it's for Mr. Big Man and maybe for jukebox music, and I can't do a tie. I'm giving it to the Kinks by the slightest of margins. But you know what? This is great too, and it doesn't really matter. There's no right or wrong here. It's just an excuse to talk about these great albums. So with that being said, see which one of these you like better. Let's hear it in the comment section below. Thank you guys very much for watching, and we will see you with another one of these in the future. Bye bye.